happening?
Good morning, Mr. Joe.
Education from yesterday, okay, we learned stair springs. Today we're going to concentrate on common rafters on a roof. First piece of information we need to know is we need to go to the plan. Okay, we're going to go to the plan and find out what my span is. The span is outside wall to outside wall. In this case, we have 4 feet. We're demonstrating on a piece of plywood. So we have a 4-foot span. Next piece of information we need to know is the total run. Total run is half the span. So if I have a span of 4 foot, my total run will be half of that, which is 2 feet, okay? Our rise is going to be shown with this right triangle up in the right-hand corner or left-hand corner of any roof framing plan. Our rise or our slope will be at an 8-12 pitch. Our unit run for a common rafter is always 12. 1 whole unit of run is equal to 1 foot. So when we do what we call the step-off method, we're going to step off with our framing square 2 times on an 8-12 pitch. I'll explain to you further in a little bit. So, knowing our numbers, 8 times 2 gives me a 16-inch height plus the hap. Our hap is called height above plate, represents height above plate. Our double plate is at the top of the building. Our bird's mouth is cut out and we have a 2-inch space from my seat to the top of my rafter. That's 2 inches. So I have my 16 plus the 2 inches. I'll have a total height on my roof of 18 inches to the peak. My unit run on the square, it gives me unit run based on an 8-12 pitch. We run over to 8. The square gives you a bunch of information. We use this tool for all the wrong reasons. There's a lot of information on here you'll get your unit run for a rafter right here. We have a rise of 8. The first line says length of common rafter per foot of run. I go over to 8. I drop down to the first line. 14.42, which represents 14 7/16 of an inch. 14.42 times 2 equals 28 7/8. We have a tail of half of that because I want a 6-inch projection off the side of my building. 6 inches is half of the unit run. I divide 14.42. Okay, by 2, and I get 7 1/4 in my case, on the light side. So my total is 36 1/8 when I add them both up. Then we have to do a deduction at the top of the rafter, which is deducting for half of the ridge board. Now, in this case, I'm using a 2x4. What's the thickness of a 2x4, people? Okay, so half of the thickness is 3/4. I'm going to deduct from the top of each rafter 3/4 of an inch. Let me explain to you right here. This is my rafter. I laid it out to save some time. I start off at the top. I step off twice. 1, 2. Those are my units of run. I draw my line. I'm going to mark 2 inches with my square. I will demonstrate this again. I'm going to go back level, establish my seat cut. That's my bird's mouth. This is my hat. This represents 2 inches. Okay, if you notice, my blade is 2 inches wide. There's my 2 inches. Okay, so I run that level like that. While I'm here, I measure over from this point to this point, 6 inches. Using my square, I shall demonstrate. From point A to point B here, we have 7 1/4. From point C to point D here, we'll have 6. This represents level, this represents plumb, this is my hypotenuse. Okay, so we have a run. I'm going to demonstrate to you how we lay out. The tools we're going to need are the framing square and our stair gauges. We have stair gauges. You'll find these at Home Depot right next to your framing squares. They Save time. This business is about time and money. We set up small number on the small side, which is the tongue, and big number on the blade. So I have an 8. I set it up on 8. 8/12 pitch. I set up my other gauge on 12. To quickly demonstrate, who has a pencil? To quickly demonstrate. All right, right at the very top. Here's how quick it goes, and this is the longest method. 1. I'm here. 2. I want to make sure that gauge is running right through that line, so I'm accurate. Okay? 2. I have my units. There's 2. Now I come here. Okay? While I'm here, I'm going to mark 2 inches. I come over 1, 2. There's my 2 inch. I'm going to mark 6. That's my level projection out. I slide the square down. I flip my square, come this way, and mark my tail. I go back to the original position. I go to my mark. There's my 2 inches. My blade is 2 inches wide, so I can't mess up. This is my bird's mouth. This is my tail. This is leaving us. Now I'm going to give us a nice flat spot to put a little soffit board here. Finish now at the top. I have to deduct for half the thickness of my ridge board. We're using a 2-by. I'm deducting 3/4. If I use a piece of half-inch plywood, I have to deduct a 1/4. So remember, it's half the thickness of whatever material you're using for the ridge board, not half the thickness of a 2-by. You could be using any piece of material, it's half the thickness. In this case, it's a 2-by. I'm going to come here and deduct 3/4 of an inch. And that looks like a nice 3/4 of an inch. I'll confirm it. Those are my cuts. You guys want to catch that? There's 3/4 of an inch. People, by working in the field, you'll get used to measuring by eyeball. You don't want to do it all the time. Okay, so that being said, we're going to cut our rafter. Take my trusted handsaw. I don't want to cut too far and weaken the rafter. In the real world, let's understand one thing, people. Our roof is going to be made of 2x6, 2x8, 2x10. I'm using this for, I want to conserve as a demonstration. I don't want to have to use 2x8s, 2x10s. You guys know how much lumber costs. For demonstration purposes, this serves a purpose. This is a 2-inch hat with a 1.5-inch heel. This is the heel right here. Let me demonstrate. The heel is the back side. That's a level. That's a plumb cut. My level cut is my seat. Okay. This is 2 inches. This would be 1.5 inches. So in the real world, usually it's going to be 2 to 1. I'm going to cut this out so that I don't go too deep and damage the rafter. If I did it right, these will all line up. All right, here's my rafter there. I'll demonstrate to you on this. You'll see this here. I demonstrate, I put it right on the second line. It should line up. All right, there's my tail, there's my bird's mouth, there's my deduction, okay? This is my rafter. This would sit right there like that. And I'm done. All right, now each and every one of you will get to demonstrate this to me this afternoon. I'll go over it again individually. It's simple. That's what we call the step-off method. There's another quick method. All right, I'm going to show it to you real quick, and then we'll go to work. All right, I'm going to do it right here. I want to take a nice side of the 2x. Okay, what I'll do is this. I'll use it as a story pole. Here's the top. This is and this is my tail. So now, instead of using the framing square, I'm going to use the speed square. On the speed square, I have a lot of information here too. All these numbers represent something. Cuts for a common rafter. These are my rises. I'm going to use the number 8 for a common rafter. Okay? I'm going to put it to my mark right at the very top. I'm going to spin to my number 8. I'm going to draw the line. I'm going to come down to my second mark. Okay? I'm going to pivot it. Notice, it says pivot. You put that right to the outside edge of where you put your mark. Right there. I'm going to pivot to my number 8. I'm going to mark 2 inches. As you see, 1, 2 represents 2 inches. Okay, so that's going to be my bird's mouth. I'm going to slide down here. That represents 6 inches. It's going to go like that. I'm going to flip my square and give myself a bird's mouth. That's my bird's mouth. That comes out, this comes out. I'm going to come here. I'm going to give myself that 1.5 inches. Right there, that's going to come out, this is going to come out, that comes out, and this comes out. Now, when I cut this real quick, I put my material